Craig Bradbrook, Vice President of Toronto Airport.
That's correct.
That's correct. Thank you very much for coming here today. We had a great discussion, I think.
Absolutely, yeah.
We discussed many topics like the capacity management of airports, airport planning, drone, unmanned aircraft systems, ground handling, aerodrome certification. What were, according to you, the highlights of our discussion today?
Well, it's a bit difficult to pick one or two out, but I would say I thought the discussion on capacity management was very interesting. I think it's a challenge that we all face as airports.
Yeah.
So that was, for me, very interesting to hear from Istanbul, some of the challenges they had, which were different to the ones we have in some ways, but it's still a capacity challenge, so that was good. And I thought the discussion on ground handling, it generated quite a lot of interest, so that was good too, obviously, because that's something close to my heart.
Very good. Talking about the future, what do you think airports of the future will look like, and what their role will be?
Well, I mean, you can, as a futurist, you can probably look out a long way and predict that they will look very different to the airports of today. But I think on the nearer term, I think there are real opportunities to modernize and take advantage of technology, of things like augmented intelligence, autonomous equipment to help address some of the challenges we have in today's airport environment. So I think also today we talked about airport collaborative decision making and how we in Toronto are using this to really enable the airline turnaround operation and the whole airside ground operation to operate more efficiently, because everybody has the same view of the truth. You know, everybody has that situational awareness of what's going on. And that's often the biggest challenge, is that we don't have that real-time information on a flight arriving late or a flight arriving early, and being able to adapt the plan to accommodate that aircraft.
How will airports and airlines use drones in the future?
Well, that's another interesting topic. I mean, we at Toronto, we started to use drones, for example, in our emergency response. So our fire and emergency services now have drones, so that if we have an incident on the airfield, we can put a drone up, and then we have a sort of helicopter view of the scene, which can be relayed to our command center, which is invaluable, because then whoever's in command can then actually see with a lot of detail the scene, and it just gives them that situational awareness that otherwise they wouldn't have. So that's one application, but we're excited too to see how we might use drones for the airfield inspection, runway inspection,
example,
doing all of the regulatory required quality assurance of the infrastructure, how we might be able to use it in wildlife management is another area. The airlines, interestingly, been experimenting and using in the hangars to check out parts of the aircraft that are in for inspection. So there are many interesting applications that we could use it for. So yeah, I think the sooner we can resolve the challenges of drones operating around an airport, friendly drones, the better. Yeah.
Very good. When we talk about airports, we always talk about environmental issues. How can airport operators address them?
Well, again, as one airport in Toronto, we recognize that we operate with the permission, if you like, of the local community. And so environmental responsibility as well as corporate social responsibility, I think, are extremely important. We forecast growth in Toronto, so we could see the passenger numbers increasing significantly over the coming years, which would mean more aircraft movements. But we need to do it in a way that we can retains support from the local communities. So we have a noise management action plan. We have a very comprehensive way in which we engage with the local communities and address the issues that are of concern to them. So that's one area, but there are many different aspects of environmental management that we also have to take care of. I think another area where we as airports are helping is, for example, in reducing airborne holding. And in today's session, we talked about an innovative pilot that we did in conjunction with NAV Canada and with the airlines. And that was to try and avoid the bunching of aircraft, having too many aircraft in the sky in the early morning arrivals period, because aircraft were arriving early. And by getting the airlines to operate to plan, target time over what we would call the bedpost, we were able to reduce airborne holding significantly, which is beneficial to obviously to the traveling public. But we estimate that we were saving about 700 pounds of fuel per aircraft that we were bringing in on time without airborne holding. So reducing the emissions of that is significant. So there are a lot of opportunities where we can, I think, through innovation, reduce our impact of the industry on the environment. So we obviously want to be proactive in taking advantage of that going forward. But as you say, there's so many things that we could be doing. And so whether it's waste management, our use of power, switching to more greener equipment, can we move more quickly to electric power GSE equipment? All these are opportunities there that we want to take advantage of going forward.
Very well. The Air Navigation Commission is the most important, is the technical body actually of this organization. We have 17 panels of experts nominated by states and industry working for us, helping us to develop new standards and new procedures for air navigation services. What should be, according to you, the relationship between the Air Navigation Commission and the industry?
Well, I thought today's session was wonderful. I mean, informal, but it enabled us to come and bring and share some case studies. And I think one of the members of the ANC actually spoke to, could we see more case studies? Because I think it's through the case studies you really begin to understand how some of the standards and recommended practices may be applied in different parts of the world, and therefore how that might inform what could be done going forward. So I found it very useful, very interesting to have that dialogue between yourselves as the technical experts and people like myself who live the day of, if you like, in the airport environment. So yeah, it's great. I would encourage you to do it more often.
Thank you very much. Very general question. What can the ANC do for the future of the aviation?
What can the ANC do?
Yes.
Well, I think you are well positioned and well charged. You have your mandate, and I think there is that continual updating and modernizing of all the documentation and the SARPs. The industry is evolving very quickly.
Yes, that's the
and
point.
how can the regulatory part of the industry respond and anticipate and move at that sort of pace? That's a challenge. It's a challenge for us as airports to move at that pace as well. So I think you are well positioned. You have experts in the ANC that are well positioned to drive that. So working collaboratively, I think we can get there.
Very good. My last question today: do you regret attending the ANC talks?
No, I found you very hospitable. It was very friendly. Actually, it was a nice change.